Hello and welcome to my presentation, Teaching is a Circus by TeganStephan, USQ Springfield. This presentation will include the results of a survey that I completed, my mind map, a breakdown of my metaphor, and my 5 principles for teaching and learning. To create my metaphor, I completed this survey. From the results, I discovered that I am mostly a progressivist, closely followed by humanistic. This informed my principles of teaching and learning and also helped inform my choice of metaphor. Next, I created my mind map that captured my beliefs of the image of the child and how I see myself as the teacher. This mind map explores my values and beliefs, theories that I resonate with and inform my practice, past experiences, my understandings of learners, relationships and interactions, and how I see the role of the environment. A strong belief of mine is play-based learning. Play-based learning is supported by theorists such as Vygotsky, Reggio, and Montessori, due to play and its ability to develop all domains of development. I see learners as competent, strong, independent, capable, curious, and inquisitive, and a play-based curriculum can cater to these aspects for children. Play is seen as a social experience, as noted by theorists such as Vygotsky. Therefore, my teaching practices are quite often social learning experiences where children can follow their own individual interests. This led me to my metaphor, teaching is a circus. Teaching is a circus. A circus is a company of performers that may include clowns, acrobats, trained animals, trapeze acts, musicians, tightrope walkers, jugglers, and much more. Each circus company is unique with a variety of performers, all with their own talents and strengths. Each performer and their special talent is used to create this circus company. Play-based learning. A circus is fun and enjoyable for all performers and the audience. It allows the performers to express themselves through their choice of act. Circus performers practice their acts through hands-on experiences where they can excel in their own way. Interest-based learning. Each performer is offered the opportunity to study and perform an act that interests them. Performers respect their fellow circus company performers and appreciate that they may have different interests to them. Differentiation. A circus company encompasses a variety of performers, each with different preferences for what act they perform. Some performers are great clowns, while others are marvelous acrobats. A circus company uses these differences to their advantage and allows everyone to use their own talents and strengths. Social. A circus is a social experience with a lot of collaboration to make the performance just right. A circus involves everyone working together. This means that the performers and their opinions are heard and each member of the company contributes to the overall performance. Sometimes when there are auditions and new company members join the circus, they need to learn from more experienced performers to assist them in the beginning. Once they are experienced enough, they may take on the role of training other new members. The learning environment. A circus is a supportive learning environment where each performer and their act is appreciated and respected. A circus would not work if there was not a supportive learning environment because each performer needs to feel comfortable enough to perform in front of the other company performers. When a company is planning their performance, they ensure that everyone has a voice and can express their opinions of how the circus should go. These opinions are respected by everyone to create supportive learning environments. The physical environment is considered the platform for where these performers perform. They use their physical environment, such as props, to enhance their performance and assist their act. I will now present my 5 teaching and learning principles. discussing the intent of each principle, how the principle relates to my metaphor, theories that underpin my principle, and how I will enact each principle in practice. My principles are formed based on my personal beliefs of teaching and learning. They include play-based learning, interest-based learning, differentiation, social learning, and the learning environment. In my opinion, my principles are non-hierarchical and are all of equal importance. My first principle is play-based learning. Play is a child's natural dominant learning approach and contributes to their knowledge and skill development across the cognitive, social, emotional, and physical domains, while also providing a solid foundation for future learning. Play offers children many different learning opportunities, such as problem-solving skills, helping children understand and make sense of their world, creativity, language skills, higher-order thinking, and social skills. Thinking of a circus, thoughts of fun and excitement spring to mind. A circus allows performers to express themselves, much like children expressing themselves through play. Circus performers practice their acts through hands-on experiences, similar to children engaging with hands-on learning experiences. Although children must follow a structured curriculum and a circus company must follow the performance structure of their act, both children and circus performers are engaging in a form of play-based learning. Many early childhood theorists support play as a crucial part in children's learning and development. These theorists include Lev Vygotsky, the Reggio Emilia approach, and Maria Montessori. Vygotsky discusses that play expands children's world and helps them make sense of their social world while being extremely beneficial to learning. Adding to this, he states that learning through play interactions, as well as working through rules and values, help children understand their own cultural group. The Reggio Emilia approach places a great importance on play-based learning, as well as the importance on a student-centered approach and social learning, both of which can be implemented into a play-based learning approach. Montessori schools are often considered to have a form of playful learning in the curriculum. In the eyes of Montessori, play is also an important part of learning for children as it is the child's natural way of learning. As seen from the research and theories, it is essential to put play into practice in early childhood classrooms. This can be done through providing children with hands-on learning experiences that can facilitate and scaffold children's play. In my practice, I will use play-based learning as a means for children to express their individuality, as well as engage with the necessary curriculum requirements. I will allow children to choose what they learn and how they want to learn it. This gives children choice and allows for a student-centered approach to teaching and learning. My second principle is interest-based learning. Children have individual interests and needs that must be met by their educators. Often children's interests can be used to help educators plan learning experiences that will be meaningful to the child. Children learn best when they are interested and engaged, and we as educators should use these interests as a basis for our curriculum decision-making. Just like in a circus, where each individual performer studies and explores an act that they are interested in, children should be able to study and explore topics that interest them. Similar to children, circus performers have preferences for what they wish to perform and how they wish to perform it. Children in the classroom should be able to choose what they wish to study and learn about and how they wish to engage in the learning process. Maria Montessori, the Reggio Emilia practice, and the National Quality Framework all support learning experiences being adapted to fit in with children's current interests. Maria Montessori's theory proposes that if children are interested in a particular activity, they are more likely to concentrate their attention on that activity, therefore the children are more likely to learn. Reggio Emilia's practice includes a great deal of collaboration among children and their educators. The educators in Reggio Emilia perceive the curriculum as emerging from the interests and ideas of the children. The National Quality Framework, Quality Area 1, Standard 1.2, supports the theories of Montessori and the Reggio practice that each child's current knowledge, ideas, culture, abilities, and interests are the foundation of the program. In following with the recommendations of the above theorists and theories, interest-based learning could be implemented into early childhood classrooms through ensuring that educators cater to the interests of all students. Educators can ask students through discussion about their interests and what they wish to learn about. This approach allows students to connect with the content as well as taking responsibility for their own learning. My third principle is differentiation. It is important for teachers to understand that all children are unique and differentiation is necessary when planning all learning experiences and classroom activities. It is essential to cater for the individual needs of children through differentiated instruction. Differentiation allows for a flexible approach to teaching that addresses the different learning needs of all students and ensures that the learning is an appropriate fit for each individual. It is commonly associated with maximum learning outcomes. Children in the classroom have many different talents and strengths, as do performers in a circus. Circus performers use their individual talents to their advantage by showing people what they can do, and in a classroom, students should also be able to share their individual talents. Each circus performer learns and practices their act in different ways. Some performers prefer to watch, others do, and some just listen to feedback from more experienced others. In a classroom, children are the same and also learn through many different ways. Howard Gardner, the Australian Curriculum and the Early Years Learning Framework all understand the importance of differentiation and inclusion for all students in the classroom. Gardner developed a series of 8 multiple intelligences as a means for illustrating that children learn differently. Gardner discussed that educators should be determining how children are smart and identifying children's strengths. The Australian curriculum debates that Australian schooling promotes equality as well as allowing all children to be successful learners that are confident and creative individuals. Adding to this, the Australian curriculum requires educators to be supportive of students with learning difficulties and disabilities as well as gifted students. The Early Years Learning Framework values children's different capabilities and abilities and respects children for these differences. The Early Years Learning Framework requests that educators recognise the diversity contributes to the richness of our society. Through an understanding of my students and how they learn, I can cultivate a differentiated curriculum to best fit their individual learning styles. In my future practice, I will ensure that I provide a range of learning experiences that can be differentiated to fit my students and their current learning needs. I will also ensure that I cater to Gardner's multiple intelligences theory, the Australian curriculum, and the requirements of the Early Years Learning Framework. My fourth principle is social learning. Learning is a social experience where students are learning through collaboration and working together with teachers and peers. Children learn from co-constructing understandings and creating meanings while establishing shared understandings of their everyday life. Through social learning, children engage in higher order thinking while becoming more skilled and knowledgeable. Learning in a classroom, just like performing with a circus company, is a social experience. In a classroom, students are engaging with their peers and their teacher to develop understandings and form meanings of various events and situations. In a circus, the performers in the company are also engaging with each other to develop understandings on what they should do in their performance. Circus performers work together and learn from experienced others, much like in a classroom when students work together and are learning from their teacher and their more experienced peers. A circus performer alone would be a very basic act. However, all the performers together make an incredible show. In a classroom, having all the students working together achieves much more than if there were only one student. Vygotsky and the Early Years Learning Framework both place a high importance on social learning for children of all ages and in all contexts. Vygotsky, who introduced the sociocultural theory, a theory promoting social interactions for peer learning, supports the importance of social learning as when students interact with each other, they provide peer support for each other, which results in both students having a mutual understanding of the topic. Vygotsky also discusses that the themes and stories in play all relate to the society and culture in which the child is located. Another important consideration for social learning is that students with learning difficulties benefit emotionally and cognitively when they are included in the social dynamics of the classroom. The Early Years Learning Framework appreciates that learning is a social activity and value collaborative learning and community participation for all students. The Early Years Learning Framework also understands that social development is important to develop through social activities and collaborative learning. In my future practice, I can ensure that I will include a range of group activities that will allow students to engage in social learning experiences. I will plan to allow students time to work collaboratively and use class time to have class discussions to encourage peer learning. To allow for this group work to be successful, I need to ensure that students have positive relationships with each other and can feel comfortable enough to talk during class time. My fifth and final principle is the learning environment, which covers both the emotional learning environment and the physical learning environment. In the emotional environment, students must feel safe, supported, and free to express themselves. And the physical environment must be safe, stimulating, and provide opportunities for learning for all children. The learning environment must be an inclusive place. A classroom, just like a circus company, needs to be an inclusive learning environment, as well as a safe physical environment. It needs to be inclusive so that everyone feels supported and comfortable enough sharing their talents. It also needs to be a safe physical environment where everyone can practice these talents in a safe environment. It is important to have a safe environment where students feel comfortable and free to be themselves in the classroom. The Australian Professional Standards for Teachers, Standard 4, states that all teachers must create and maintain supportive and safe learning environments. The Early Years Learning Framework supports this statement and places great emphasis on creating supportive environments so students feel like they can trust their teachers. However, not only is the emotional environment important, but as is the physical environment. The Reggio Emilia approach believes that children are natural explorers. In light of this, the environment must encourage investigation and be open to change to respond to the demands of the children. It is the teacher's responsibility to ensure that the physical environment is set up in a way that children will have their needs met. The physical environment must not only take into consideration differentiation, such as gender, race, culture, and age, but also variables such as learning styles, abilities, preferences, and varying needs. The teacher must know the students in order to assess the children's needs and learning abilities, and in turn will use this information to create appropriate physical environments. In my practice, I will ensure that children feel safe and supported by listening to students, getting to know them and their families, helping them when they need assistance, and ensuring that I have a safe classroom environment. I will ensure that the physical environment is appropriate by making sure it is safe with no safety hazards, providing a stimulating environment for children to explore, and I will take into consideration the different students in my class when designing the physical learning environment. In conclusion, my philosophy is play-based learning, a theory supported by theorists such as Vygotsky, the Reggio Emilia approach, and Montessori. My 5 principles for teaching and learning that capture this philosophy include play, interest-based learning, differentiation, social learning, and the learning environment. Play allows for each of these aspects to be implemented into the classroom so that all students are catered for. My metaphor, teaching is a circus, encapsulated these principles for teaching and allowed for comparisons between a circus and a classroom to be made explicit. Thank you for listening.